If you build it, we will come. 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 If you build it, we'll come.
Welcome to the Outback Steakhouse all-time, all-Madden Super Bowl team. And John, how'd you come up with this idea?
Well, I just thought it was such a great day. Today is Super Bowl Sunday. It's Fox's first Super Bowl. They've already played 30 of them. So I figured, what the heck, it's time for an all-time team.
How do you get chosen?
Well, we have certain criteria. First of all, the players have had to have played in the Super Bowl. Now, after that, we get a little complicated because we've got some rules here and some rules there and some things there and some things there. So I found out when that happens, you always go to an expert. So we went to an expert.
I've been asked to explain the all-time, all-Madden Super Bowl team rulebook. Let's begin.
You know, Matt, 4 Super Bowl rings. You are what the All-Madden team is all about. I think you're going to be a shoo-in for this.
Forget the rings, Dave. I like the sweatshirts.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 55 on Fox. No Fox employees are allowed to be selected. One more time like that, Mellon, and you're out of here.
Hi, Troy. Hey, Steve. Have you heard about this amazing all-time team that John Madden's putting together? He loves you. You're a lock. If Troy doesn't get it, you're a lock.
Interference by an agent. Number 8, San Francisco. Number 8, Dallas. No active players allowed on the squad. Penalties all set. Replay the down.
Under their flag of piracy, the Raiders gathered together an eclectic group of refugees from around the league.
Encroachment on the silver and black. Violation of the neutral zone. No player coached by John Madden is eligible for the team. Careful observation of these rules will make it a safer selection process. Enjoy the show.
Okay, John, the rules have been established. Now, what do you got for a team?
Well, I got big guys and fast guys and quiet guys and loud guys. I got Lombardi's guys, Shula's guys, the guys that are all champions. And if you were a player, you'd want to play with them. If you were a coach, you'd want to coach them. And if you were a fan, you'd want to watch them. But you know what the biggest thing is? They're going to be here. They're coming. They're coming here. They're going to be in the locker room with us.
That's right. The greatest football team ever assembled will assemble. But first, we'll show you the arduous process of selecting the team.
I just have to see some more film.
You'll hear keen insights from the greats.
I could feel the juice from the crab running all the way down my pants into my socks and shoes.
I've never made a deal with the devil.
We'll check in and see what some of the players are up to these days. John may not be able to select any of his Raiders, but boy, have they got some tales to tell.
Be on time and win.
And best of all, John Madden delivers his first pregame pep talk in almost 20 years. It's the Outback Steakhouse all-time, all-Madden Super Bowl team next.
The Outback Steakhouse all-time, all-Madden Super Bowl team is brought to you by Outback Steakhouse, home of the world-famous Bloomin' Onion. Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right.
By Canon Laser Color, its only competition is reality. By Pepsid AC Acid Controller, you can be heartburn-free with Pepsid AC. And by Goodyear, #1 in tires.
Here on the Outback, nothing brings people together.
It's just out of reach. It's always been just out of reach. Luxury. Creature comforts. But now, there's the all-new ES300 with front-wheel drive and traction control available in forward and reverse at a price that's highly accessible to the average bear. See your Chicago area Lexus dealer.
Come on, pick up. Hello? Honey, listen, I'm gonna miss the game. You've got to tape it for me, please.
Sure.
So, you got a cell phone. Smart.
Channel 26.
My therapist said... What?
Oh, it's not Ameritech.
Channel 6. I need this.
Why? It's for Yodel.
Better go with Ameritech, the one with proven call quality. Now get a free phone, free nights and weekends all year. Ameritech, your link to better communication.
It's lunchtime, and what are we having with our burger today? Wow, you get a big 28 grams of fat with this one. And this one serves up an amazing 39 grams. A great sandwich doesn't have to have all that fat. At Subway, 7 of our 6-inch subs have 6 grams of fat or less and taste fresh and delicious. Take the Subway challenge and take one bite. If you don't think our subs are great, you get your money back at a Subway near you.
And right now, buy any meal deal at Subway and get $10 off hot Midway games for a limited time.
Looks like it's going to be freezing rain all day.
Hazardous driving conditions. Stevens installed Harlan to McCormick Place.
Snow coming down steadily, expected to get worse throughout the day.
Kennedy very slow. Junction to the Cave.
2 a bus predicted tonight.
Gapers Block causing a jam up on the Dan Ryan.
Snow and sleet everywhere.
Good morning, Chicagoland. It's going to be another character builder today.
Don't let winter slow you down. Take Metro. The Final Word, live from New Orleans tonight after Fox News Chicago.
He gets out of the boat, goes in the brush. He comes back wading out of the brush, throws an alligator 3.5 feet long in the boat with me.
Welcome back to the show. John, it must have been tough to pick this team. I'll tell you, Pat, you don't know the half of it. At first, picking an all-time team was easy. We had no rules, so I did some thinking, flipped through the history books, watched film, and solicited advice. People everywhere were very helpful.
Hey, how about Sam Huff? Hey, Don, what about LP?
How about Bucky?
Quickly, our list grew. The more I thought about it, the more names I found. In fact, everything started to remind me of great players.
John, don't forget about the Colts.
Gotcha, Seabiscuit. Love those old Colts, like Johnny U, Jim Parker, and Ray Berry. I'd see Birds, Eagles, Concrete Chuck Bednarik. Hey, the train. Night Train Lane. Hey, this is getting out of control.
17 quarterbacks, 12,000 pounds of blind men, no kickers or punters. Is that all?
Now our roster was out of control.
John, this is Houston. We have a problem. We recommend you select Earl Campbell. Over.
But I still couldn't stop picking guys, even in my sleep. I was selecting more players. Heck, who counts sheep? I was counting rams. Finally, I went to see the capologist, who quickly put a new spin on things.
John, you've selected 497 players. You're $735 million over the salary cap. As your all-Madden capologist, I have to tell you, this is fiscally irresponsible.
And that's when we instituted our rules, and you know how I feel about those things. Even though I couldn't draft the Fox guys, there was one thing I had to do.
You know, I knew you were living in the past.
My shoulder pads are bigger than yours.
Now we're talking. There's the guys I remember, 3 of the best. You know, Pat, that's a tough rule. I mean, there's no way that you can have an all-time Super Bowl team and leave Matt Millen, Terry Bradshaw, Howie Long, and Ronnie Lott off it. Those were 4 of the greatest guys that ever played the game at their position, and so what the heck? I'm not a real rules guy anyway. I'm going to challenge that rule. I'm going to say, the heck with the rule, those guys are on it.
All right, John, it's time to meet the team now. And let's start with the running backs. And what better place to start than with the NFL's all-time leading rusher, Walter Payton.
Every time I handed the ball off to him, I was amazed at what he could do. He gave everything he had on every play, whether he was running the football, blocking, catching. He was a complete football player. He was the best. I mean, he wasn't blessed with great speed, but he had a heart bigger than anybody, and he was probably the strongest man I've ever met.
John Riggins, one of the toughest guys to bring down, and the MVP of Super Bowl 17.
I remember John was just running the ball at will that day. My receiver blocked down on the defensive end, and I'm confronted with John Riggins. I said, man, I'm going to make this tackle and save the game for us. Because I had him for a loss. I hit him, and I couldn't hang on, and he just seemed to push me off and went for the winning touchdown. I said, man, what am I going to do? I've lost the game for our team.
Larry Zonka bulldozed his way to 2 Super Bowl victories and an MVP award. But today he's riding bulldozers as he oversees the construction of his own sports complex in Ohio.
Cigarettes are but 2 hours of pushing from
This ring is kind of modest by Super Bowl ring standards, but it's the only ring that represents an undefeated season. No one beat us. No one in the NFL. Having gone through the period of being the fish that couldn't swim and the doormat of the American Football League, and then suddenly, literally 2 years later after Shula came to us, sitting on the brink of the Super Bowl was a little bit unbelievable. I played kind of a physical game. I couldn't outrun many of the people on the field, maybe 3 or 4 at best. And as a result, those people caught me. And when they caught me, they were angry. And they hurt me. If I could go back and win on every play at the age of 50, I'd love to play again. But, you know, it doesn't work that way.
Mama, man of means, by no means, king of the road.
Up next, the offensive line.
Good morning.
Welcome back to our show. And John will continue with one of your favorite areas, the offensive line.
And the offensive line is my favorite because if the offensive line doesn't do what they have to do, then nothing else gets done. And I think when you think of Super Bowls and offensive linemen, you have to think of the Hawks. I mean, they would blow them out in the run. They would pass protect them. And, you know, and this is what an offensive lineman's locker looks like. You know, you never know. You never have any idea. When you pull out stuff.
Oh, smoke.
Look, I mean, tape, shoulder pads, food, anything falls out there. But they're the solid people of the team. They're what everything is built around.
Don't go any deeper. Joe Jacoby and Russ Grimm won 3 Super Bowls under head coach Joe Gibbs.
Russ Grimm was a great leader. He was one of the most athletic guys on our football team. When we ran counter gap, that was our trademark. Russ Grimm was one that led the play. Joe Jacoby would come up behind him. Overall, what he meant most to our football team, besides being a great football player, he was one of our real leaders. Joe Jacoby, to me, was the best drive blocker I ever coached. And so when we had to have something, we ran right over the top of Joe Jacoby.
Jerry Kramer led the famed Green Bay sweep to the first 2 Super Bowl titles.
During the heyday of the Packers, a great team that loved to sweep behind Kramer and Thurston. Kramer was not only one of the finest of football's players, but certainly in the mold of what Vince Lombardi wanted.
Mike Webster won 4 Super Bowls and became very close with Terry Bradshaw. Very close.
Webster was the guy that I kind of looked to. Webby was so smart. He saw the little things, the little angles. Not to mention the fact that he had one of those good flat butts. I mean, you can squat down and really take a snap. You can really put your hands on him and say, hey, this is good. This is nice right here.
Jackie Slater set an NFL record by playing 20 years with the same team.
You knew one thing, when you played against Jackie Slater, you were going to be in for a fight for 4 quarters. It was a fight. Jackie was one of the biggest, nastiest, talented guys I ever competed against.
John Hanna was voted to the Pro Bowl 10 times in his 13-year career and made it to 1 Super Bowl.
John Hanna was simply the best offensive lineman that I ever watched or had the privilege to play against. He could beat you with power. He could beat you with finesse. He could beat you just on his head. But the best part about him was his intensity. There was never a more intense offensive lineman than John Hannah.
An All-Madden perennial, Anthony Munoz is considered by many to be the best left tackle ever.
Anthony Munoz, he was much more of a technician than he was a killer. He could just obliterate an opponent. The most dominant offensive lineman that I've ever been around.
Another member of football's only undefeated Super Bowl champion, Larry Little, is now a college head coach.
All right, man, listen up. Good first half. Play the last half. That's the last game of your life. Let's go out there and win this football game, man. Let's go.
I love coaching. Going out recruiting these young men, seeing them coming as boys and leaving as men. Try to have the positive father image with them, you know. They know if I get on them.
Hey, Tommy, keep your cool now.
I'm doing it because I love them. I know they're proud of me and what I've accomplished. They bring it up to me more than I bring it up to them. You know, I was a hard-nosed football player. I came to play week in and week out. It's down and dirty in the trenches, no doubt about it. You know, you have to be a man to play down there now. It's not a boy's game to play in the trenches. I demand respect on the football field.
Coming up next, we're bringing them back together.
The NHL on Fox. The Fox Tracks is back as Gretzky, Messier, and the Rangers face off against Lindros and the Flyers. Or Fedorov and the Red Wings try to slow down Hull and the Blues. The NHL on Fox, Saturday. Coverage begins 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific.
Imagine a place that surrounds you with elegance and pampers you with luxury.
Williams, the car, please.
Introducing the Infiniti QX4. It has all the comfort and style you'd expect in an Infiniti.
Williams, while we're young.
It's just a bit more assertive. The new QX4.
I've been doing this 48 years, 500,000 sheets a day. Now, these are from recycled boards. We do a lot of these. People always need boxes. I get offers. I could sell the place, but I don't want to do that. I have the people here to think about it. I'm not retiring. You're retired to enjoy yourself, and I'm already doing that.
It's your life's work. Does your bank understand that?
Pete heard about it from his neighbor.
10321.
And he passed it on to Beth.
With 10321, I save over AT&T on every call within the U.S.
And save 50% off all calls over 20 minutes.
Just dial 10321 from home, then make your call as usual.
And the charges appear on your regular phone bill.
A call to my brother in New York used to cost $8. Now it's $4.
Plus, get great international rates.
Mexico.
2,
3,
2,
1. Good news travels fast.
Pass it on.
Looking for a warm-up? See your favorite Ford dealer now, because the savings are getting even hotter. Like Ford Contour. For a limited time, get $1,000 cash back. Or low 2.9% financing for up to 48 months on every new Contour. That's $1,000 cash or 2.9 financing on every new Contour in stock. Contour is the fun-to-drive, sophisticated, comfortable sedan. One drive in Ford Contour will surprise you. So heat it up with one really hot deal. See your favorite Ford dealer today. There's more to afford.
Hang 10 with Fox Chicago and surf our website.
Mr. Green?
Yeah.
Do you need any help?
Mm-mm.
Want my Coke?
No.
Really, you can have it.
Okay. Thanks.
That's the way it should be. I like to stay around the whole world, smiling with me. Coca-Cola and life. Have a coconut. Wow, thanks, Joe.
I feel like I'm going on a date or something here.
Hey, how you doing, Tommy?
Good, how you been?
Good to see you, man. You're looking good. Looking good.
You too.
Once we did the commercial, I no longer was Mean Joe, regardless of how mean I would act. No one really believed it.
That was the one thing that everybody always asked. You get to keep the shirt. And I didn't, because somebody either on the crew or somebody walked off with it. That following Christmas, I think Joe had heard that I hadn't ended up with the jersey through some newspaper article or something like that. and was nice enough to send one out as a Christmas present, autographed, a little note on it.
Hey, kid. Wow, thanks, Joe.
Are you busy now with films and stuff, or?
We got a meeting here in probably about an hour. Well, what you got on your mind?
Grab a beer or something if you got 5 minutes, or?
Sure, a beer.
You check my ID now.
Okay.
Well, John, it's nice to see the two of them back together.
I'll tell you, and this guy that had this jersey was really tough.
He really was.
You know, 4 Super Bowls, Hall of Fame. And, you know, he was the first guy that lined up in that cocked position, you know, that center guard gap.
I remember.
Lined up crooked. Tell you, he was tough to block when he lined up straight. When he lined up crooked, he was impossible to block.
The rest of the defensive line begins with another of those famed Packers, Willie Davis.
And I rate Willie as one of the finest defensive ends that I've ever played against. He was so quick getting off the ball. He could get off the ball like 100 miles an hour. He could stand you straight up. He was so strong. He could stand you straight up. That's what made him great.
Bob Lilly was the first of Tom Landry's Cowboys to be inducted into Pro Football's Hall of Fame.
Bob Lilly was an amazing guy. He was our first draft choice that we had. I tell you, when he got in on the inside, it took 2 men to handle him. And when that happens, you know, your defense is pretty easy to set up.
Alan Page never won a Super Bowl, but he was the MVP of the entire league in 1971. Today, he's a state Supreme Court justice.
All rise. The Honorable Justices of the Supreme Court of the State of Minnesota.
I've never been one that liked losing. I understand that you go out and play as hard as you can and as well as you can, that somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose, but I've never been much of a fan of being on the short side of a football score. There are a number of things as a football player that you learn. Discipline, hard work, the ability to focus. All of those characteristics are necessary if you're going to be a good judge. From week to week, it didn't much matter to me who was on the other side of the line of scrimmage. You have to play your best to fulfill your potential all the time.
A second Cowboy, Randy White, was the co-MVP of Super Bowl 12.
Well, Randy White was a very unique defensive lineman. He didn't care who he lined up against. I mean, whoever was across from him, they knew they had a 60 minutes of tough football because he had great speed, he had great determination, and to have that kind of quality, then you knew you had a great player.
And you talk about tough. Jack Youngblood played Super Bowl 14 with a broken leg. Today, you can find him rounding up cattle in northern Florida.
Right where that big one lays.
The Super Bowl certainly was the highlight of any football player's career, and certainly the highlight of my career. Walking out of that tunnel in Pasadena, all your senses are just, they're peaking at that point. Unfortunately, I had to deal with a little something different. The broken leg happened in the playoff game in Dallas. The fibula was broken, snapped just like a pencil. And I told the doc, I said, I'm going to go play. And he goes, you're crazy. And I said, I may be, but this is Dallas. And I went back and finished the ball game, and we beat Dallas. The next week, we go to Tampa, and I played on it there. We beat Tampa 9-0, and that put us in the Super Bowl. And of course, 2 weeks later, we faced the Steelers. The opportunity to play was worth the pain of a broken leg.
You ought to be proud of us, Tom.
Yeah, especially if you knew you used to tackle calves before you did quarterback.
Jack and the rest of the team are on the way here, but first, John's Raiders have got some tales to tell.
Grab that door and kick that door open.
The Outback is All-Madden country, and out here, they have their own kind of tailgating. Outbacking. Check out that perfect end-over-end. That's All-Madden. These seasoned pros are ready to go. That's All-Madden. And there's no penalty for piling on.
You'll always find a great steak and a great time at Outback Steakhouse.
One thing I never hear in the Outback is, that's all, Madden.
Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are red. You never know, dear, how much I love you.
In our own South Dakota way, we wanted to tell all our friends with Gateway Computers how much we care. Gateway Computers feature the Intel Pentium chip. Be a part of all this. Call 1-800-GATEWAY.
Oh, you that brother can play the flute.
Have a Super Bowl party. We're definitely gonna have to cut that
That's
guest.
right. We gotta make some cuts. First up, Tara Bay. I know she's in.
In.
Michael Johnson, my man.
In.
Tiger Woods.
In.
Lisa Leslie.
In.
George Gerb.
In.
Ken Griffith Jr. Harris Sanders. Cy Richards. You know, he played the sergeant in double action.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's in.
The man's a lesbian. And last on the list, Charles Foster. Dear Charles, my dog ate the phone book.
Well, you know, before there was an All-Madden team, there was the Oakland Raiders. We wanted to build the finest organization in professional sports. We wanted to build something with tradition, history, great players, great coaches, great games that would last forever. Describing a Raider then, a player who had size, power, speed, dominated. They were tough guys. They had a commitment to excellence. Anytime we brought someone in who was considered a bad apple by the culture or by other teams, we could bring them into our environment, and our environment was so strong that we didn't have to worry about it. And I can remember John standing out there, waving those hands, yelling, screaming, cajoling, blasting them, but yet winning. We left a ton of history for the National Football League on great plays and great games.
Hey, remember the time we're back in Pittsburgh? We are back there playing that big game.
But what about the play that caused us to lose, though? I mean, that immaculate reception back there. I mean, let's be real. What a joke for a call the officials made. I mean,
you know, no one really knows who actually hit the ball. Who, you know, we all.
You don't right there.
Jack Tatum almost took his head off. You know, he didn't hit the ball.
We all know Jack Tatum would never go for the ball when there was a person to be hit.
Check this out. The last thing we said in the huddle is, look, we got this game won. All we got to do is knock the ball down. And guess what happened? Tate went for the big knockout.
I'm going to bet 100 this time.
Just win, baby. Just win.
I remember Al Davis, John Madden telling us, we got to stop this Francis guy. So Ack and I make a decision that this man's not going to do anything today. And we get out there first, but we start roughing him up. I'm on him, bam, bam. Now, midway through the first quarter, I grab him, I throw him left, and there's Atkinson's big old elbow waiting for him. Right in the nose. Remember that?
I remember. I got blamed for that, but that was your fault.
We go over to Hawaii for the Pro Bowl game, and Russ calls me up and says, hey, fool, how about if I take you for a plane ride? I said, that's a wonderful idea, Russ. I get out in the plane, and he's got this little plane with this little door here, and where he says, come on, we're going to show you some whales. And we're going over to Maui where the whales are, and he took that airplane and tilted it like this and grabbed that door and kicked that door up and said, get out of here, show me tell me you're going.
I put in that.
I put in.
We put in a 50.
In the old AFL, they started with the names on the jerseys, and they put the last name on the back of the jerseys. Well, Phil Yard's a rookie. He comes into camp, and he sees Mark Van Egan, which is his last name on his jersey. So he's concerned because he only has Phil Yard on the back of his jersey. So he goes to Dick Romansky, and he asks
equipment manager.
He asks Dick, says, how come I can't get both of my names on my jersey? Dick said, well, they only allow just your last name on the back of the jersey, Phil. He said, well, man, he could have both of his names.
I never will forget we were playing Minnesota in that Super Bowl. He went to John, and he wanted to know if the game was going to be on national TV. He wasn't sure the Super Bowl was going to be on national TV.
You bluffed him out the same way you used to do it. You're still bluffing him out.
I know.
You didn't bluff me out.
Tell the one about you said, John, said, don't worry about
Oh,
you
yeah,
being blind.
the big Nuke Rodney speech. Win one for the gift of speech. And he comes up with this great line, don't worry about the horses being blind, just load the wagon. Nobody knows what it is. What the hell does that mean? And Phil, y'all was the first one, huh? Yeah!
What's the game, huh?
He didn't call it 7 blind.
$50, I take 30 of it.
Well, see, John had his hands full. We had a crowd there. I mean, you had the Matuzaks, the Skip Thomases, the Phil Yards. I mean, could you imagine being a head coach for this group? Every day there was a different story. I mean, you come to practice every day. John would be sitting there, standing by the door, meetings ready to start, and you knew eventually every guy around was involved in something.
Hey, I was never involved in any of that stuff.
Oh, you were always in it.
Do I look like I was
Because you were a
doing
company man. You always were a company man. Look at this Raider watch. I bet you don't even, you probably have on Raider underwear.
I bet you I do. I got a Super Bowl ring that I got Raider underwear on.
I'll call you.
We all got a Super Bowl ring. That's good.
I bet my Hall of Fame ring that I do.
Well, I raised that. I happen to have one.
Do I have to show? I got a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah. You got to Andy up.
We got to
the top.
We got to do this discreetly now because this is.
Stay tuned. They're about to deal in a 7.
Tonight, when the big game's over, the suspense begins. After the Super Bowl,
Right around the...
Air Fox takes the skies over Chicago, February.
On a gorgeous day here in New Orleans, folks are coming by all modes of transportation to the Louisiana Superdome. It will be the site of Super Bowl 31 as we welcome you back to the Fox Super Sunday pregame show. And, you know, I was looking at some of those old guys reminiscing memories about the big game. But to hear John Madden give a pregame speech, that's coming up. It's got to be special.
Yeah, I mean, every coach in America would have to be green with envy, given the opportunity to speak to a group of such illustrious players. And Art Shell used to quote John Madden and saying, don't worry about the horse being blind, just load the cart. He'll get us there.
Would you have to tweak the speech for Terry and Ronnie?
Yeah, well, you know, we cut him out.
All right, folks, we're going to rejoin the all-time All-Madden Super Bowl show. That'll be coming your way as Super Bowl 31 continues here on Fox.
Back to the Outback Steakhouse all-time All-Madden Super Bowl team. The squad is on their way to our locker room, but before they get here, we've got a poker game to finish.
Seven Cardinal Pete. Let Danny up $20.
You guys remember in the locker room before the Super Bowl game what John said as his pep talk? I think was the greatest pep talk of all time. And I'll tell you what, I was like 6, 7 years in the league, and I was a little afraid. I don't know what happened. You know, as good as we were and all that, I was semi-nervous. I figured John was going to give us the big settling pep talk and send us out there on our way. And I remember he said, take a knee. We did our little prayer. And then John looked around the locker room and said, gentlemen, this is going to be the biggest day, the biggest single event in any of your lives, as long as you win. Now go get him. Now go get him. Go get him. Give him something, coach.
You paid doggone attention. I never thought you guys paid any attention to anything. All I said was, don't worry about the horse being blind, but I'm trying to have a meeting and no one's there. You guys are right here. Huh? What's the deal here? I told you, don't snap the ball until the snap comes. Uppy, you can't hold. I mean, you know, don't get out of the deal about, yeah, well, you want a snake to get you killed. You two guys, Villapiano and Atkinson, when the whistle blows, stop. You know what I mean? Stop. Trunk, you can't get up the field on the draw. You know what I mean? If they're going to run the draw, you got to play the run, too. Get up the field and then come back and stop. And look, when we get Kansas City, we finally get them, you know. We're running out the ball kind of thing. Don't say that Willie Lanier was soft. Remember that, Marv? Goes, oh, I hit him with my belly, went right into his belly, and he was so soft. Huh?
I want to ask you one question. What does that... We all went crazy this one time with this great Newt Rockney win one for the gift of speech. Don't worry about the horse being blind. Load the wagon.
Yeah, just load the wagon. Well, you guys know what that means. I mean, anyone, all you guys at this table, but all it means is don't worry, you can't think, right? I mean, yeah. So when you think during the week, and then you just go play like hell on Sunday. You don't worry about it. But see, some guys were from universities and some guys were from colleges. I just want to say one thing here, that if it weren't for you guys and all the guys that you represented, you know, my life, you don't know what my life would have been. And for whatever's happened and all the good that has happened, I just want to thank you, because it's happened because of you guys.
I got a charitable cause that you can donate to.
I will.
The rest of the defense next.
Fox News, prime time.
Welcome back to the Outback Steakhouse all-time All-Madden Super Bowl team. And John, what about your linebackers?
Well, you know, when you think of pro football, think of Vince Lombardi, the Green Bay Packers, Lambeau Field. And then when you have to start with a linebacker, I think you start with an ex-Green Bay Packer, Hall of Famer, number 66, middle linebacker, Ray Nitschke.
He won the first 2 Super Bowls and was a quarterback's worst nightmare.
You know, if you're a quarterback and you look across the line of scrimmage, the middle linebacker, and you see this guy scowling at you by the name of Ray Nitschke, he gets your attention in a hurry. I can still see footage, intercepting a pass or picking up a fumble, I forget what it was, but here he is limping into the end zone. He is one tough hombre.
The toughest hombre of his era, Lawrence Taylor.
Hey, come on, baby. You can't pussyfoot up in there. You gotta run it. You gotta run it.
The guy was one of the most phenomenal athletes that I ever saw play the game or played against. When he came into the league, he revolutionized what you had to do offensively. On every single play, you had to account for Lawrence Taylor. He was that good.
Willie Lanier quarterbacked the Chiefs defense for 11 seasons and won Super Bowl 4.
Playing against Willie Lanier was really a tough assignment because he was very hard-nosed, strong, tough. He had a helmet that looked like he had a big cone in the middle. And you put that cone on, we hurt you. And he was a great football player. He was a Hall of Famer, and he deserved his stuff.
Mike Curtis scared anyone who wandered onto a football field.
Mike Curtis was a great middle linebacker, and he was mean and tough, and he was always, where the action was. This spectator runs out onto the field, and Mike Curtis sees him coming, and he gave him a forearm and knocked him, and that was the last any spectators ever ran out when we were playing.
To finish off the linebackers, we'll take the Steelers' pair of jacks. First off, Jack Ham.
Jack Ham was a man who knew what you were going to do. I used to enjoy playing with Jack Ham because we tried to do something that we had never done before, just to mess Jack up. Very well-schooled, very articulate, very into the game on the intelligence side.
And his partner in crime, Jack Lambert, who's now chasing poachers in Pennsylvania.
I ain't never been a loser. I ain't never gonna be. I'm like Ryan in the ring. You don't mess around with me.
You know, I never really hung around with the guys that much. I always hung around with guys that like to hunt and fish. Well, I think you're talking to someone that probably enjoyed playing the game of professional football as much as anybody that ever played it. Everybody told me going to the National Football League I was, too light. I had to put on 30 pounds to play, and everybody said I wasn't fast enough or wasn't strong enough. And I said, well, I'm just going to go there and play the best I can and see what happens. My very first year in the National Football League, we won a Super Bowl. My second year, we won a Super Bowl. And I said, this is just the way it's supposed to be. We missed it for 2 years in a row. And then we came back and we won it 2 years in a row again. And I appreciated those last two much more than the first one.
Hey,
enjoyed the most was against the Raiders. When you get them playing them, you know, you wipe the blood off and spit out a couple of chipped teeth. You knew you'd been in the game. That was my kind of football.
John, you don't want to be a poacher in Pennsylvania. Not with Lambert looking for you. What about some DBs?
Well, I want to start again with some Green Bay Packers. In fact, a couple of guys that played in the Super Bowl before they even called it a Super Bowl. Herb Adderley and Willie Wood.
Wood played in a total of 6 league championships, including the first 2 Super Bowls.
He was a sort of quarterback in that defensive backfield and a hard-nosed guy who set the pace by his hard hitting. That's one thing Willie Wood could do is he'd come up out of the 3 safety spot and really latch on. So he sort of set the tempo for us.
Herb Adderley was the first guy to win a Super Bowl ring with 2 different teams.
Herb was a finesser. He was a cornerback who did an excellent job in coverage, great athlete, could make everything look easy. Football was easy to him.
A member of the no-name defense and the Super Bowl VII MVP, Jake Scott.
And I could see where Jake Scott would be a Madden pick. Jake Scott was just a guy that loved to compete. He wanted to be the guy to make the big play in the big ball game. I've always thought about Jake Scott as a pressure player.
A 4th member of that Steeler defense, Hall of Famer Mel Blount.
He was just a phenomenal physical specimen. Guy stayed in great shape all the time and really revolutionized the way cornerback was played. A guy that big, that type of size that could actually go out and intimidate receivers. It just was different than what anybody had ever seen.
And just so there's no confusion, Mike Haynes played for the Raiders after John Madden retired.
Mike Haynes was a cornerback who had mastered the cover one, the man-on-man coverage. Mike Haynes could sit there, lock up, and it was like ballet. He was a phenomenal player, and a player you didn't hear a lot about because he wasn't a flashy player. He just was one of the best cover corners to ever play professional football.
Up next, the receiver. Varro and the All-Madden team are heading our way. And now let's meet the receiver. The duo that helped make Terry Bradshaw a Hall of Famer, John Stallworth and Lynn Swann.
The great thing about Lynn Swann was his ability to hang. Men could hang in the air, or it appeared that he could just float forever. John's ability was his great hands, and once again, great ability to concentrate and make the impossible catch. I remember Super Bowl 14, the 2 catches that Stallworth made down the middle. When I saw them on television, I just thought, good God, how did he catch that? Not to mention the leaping catch that Lynn made in that game. You do marvel at them. I mean, you do marvel at these 2 guys.
Joe Namath's favorite target, Don Maynard.
I have a defense coming to play the New York Jets. The first guy I'm going to put 2 people on is Don Maynard. Don Maynard's going to run past anybody out there. As much ability as he had physically, his head was sharp.
And one last player from Don Shula's undefeated Dolphins, Paul Warfield.
Paul Warfield, he was artistic on the football field and graceful, and you just admired that tremendous talent.
One of pro football's first big wideouts, Kansas City's Otis Taylor.
Otis Taylor was a big receiver. 6'3", about 215. What made Otis really tough was the fact that he was not only big, but he was fast and he could catch the ball. He was a punishing receiver after he caught the football.
He's listed as a wide receiver, but on the All-Madden team, he's an honorary hog.
Gary Clark, too bad he wasn't a little bit bigger. He could fit perfect in the offensive line. He's a guy that, he's going to sacrifice his body, make that play, to get that first down, to get that touchdown.
Well, John, your quarterbacks are going to love throwing to that group of receivers. What about some tight ends?
Well, they're going to love the tight ends, too. I've always thought that a tight end should be like a wide receiver when you want to throw the ball, and he should be like an offensive lineman when you want to run the ball. And these 3 guys were like that.
They're hard to find.
Yeah, you remember John Mackey? He's in the Hall of Fame, the great Baltimore Colt tight end. And Mike Ditka, a lot of people think of him as a Chicago Bear coach, but he's also a Hall of Fame tight end. And you talk about a tough guy on the field, that was Mike Ditka. And then I think the best tight end that we've seen since we've been broadcasting partners is Mark Bavaro of the New York Giants. He was something special. I mean, he could block like an offensive lineman and receive like a wide receiver.
Bavaro blocked and caught his way to 2 Super Bowl titles with the New York Giants. And today you'll find him in his cousin's basement bottling his own wine.
I remember just a lot of times just sitting there in awe watching my teammates play, like Sims and Taylor and Harry Carsons and George Martin, and just having a great feeling knowing that whether they liked it or not, I was part of that team. Oh, I don't care about McConkey. I wanted 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, and the ball bounced off my helmet. It was an easy catch, one that I should have made. And I look back, and every time I see that play, instead of being happy for McConkey and happy we scored, I just cringe because, you know, I dropped the ball. You know, after that, he was just unbearable to live with. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like I played football. You kind of forget all those times that you played, and just to look back and see some highlight film, just like somebody else is doing it. I'm just very grateful and very proud to be part of that.
Coming up next, the quarterbacks. We guarantee it.
Even though you're out of it, it's still the game to watch. And it's interesting to go and watch and see how people handle the pressure and how they play in the game. But the biggest concern is what kind of food I'm going to eat while watching. Well, we had a lot of fun working with David Letterman. No one told me not to wear anything good. And I had a brand new suit on. And I was planning on taking my wife out to dinner. You're going to stuff a crab down your pants. No big deal. It's probably already dead, you know. It's probably dried out or, you know, semi-dry. It was dead, but it was just soaked. And the minute I did it, I mean, I could feel the juice from the crab running all the way down my pants. And it was brand new suit. And I was like, why didn't they tell me? I would have worn something else. And then I had to go in there and take my clothes off, try to dry my pants, my shoes, and not smell like a fish before I went to dinner.
Well, John, you find out some very interesting things here on the All-Madden team.
Yeah, Joe Montana may have had a little problem with that crustacean, but to me, he was the best quarterback that ever played this game. And he's a winner, and he's a guy that did things that every quarterback tried to do, but he just made it look easy. And then you think of quarterbacks that have played this game. I don't think there was a classier guy than the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys when it was Roger Staubach.
Without a doubt.
I was at the Naval Academy. I really didn't think I'd ever play professional football, and so it was a dream. I mean, it was something to try to play professionally again, to be drafted by Dallas, and to dream about playing, then to be involved with Tom Landry and guys I was idolizing in the service, the Lillies and the Mel Renfros and the Cornell Greens, the Leroy George. It was a dream for me to have 11 years with a great organization.
John, I see you have a third quarterback.
Well, I think anytime you think of Super Bowls past, you have to remember Super Bowl III and Joe Namath. What a job he did in those days. I was a coach of the Oakland Raiders, and that was not only a win for Joe Namath and the New York Jets, but it was a win for the whole American Football League. And I remember coaching against him, and he was the toughest quarterback and the best quarterback that I ever coached against. I remember we played him one game, and we did everything to him. I mean, we blitzed him, we zoned him, we manned him, we hit him, we knocked him upside down, looking up his ear hole, and he just kept getting up and throwing it and throwing it and throwing it. It was the only time in my career that after a game, I went in the locker room and shook the hand of an opponent. And I said, man, you're the greatest.
Joe Willie Namath put the super in Super Bowl.
It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll pull outside for a while and just smile.
Today you'll find Namath at his home in Florida. We caught him on a day when he was preparing dinner for his wife and 2 daughters, but always ready to talk about the legend of Super Bowl III.
Why should I ever get tired of talking about Super Bowl III and our team and getting over the hump and winning that game? And no, I don't get tired of it.
It was 1969. The Jets were 19.5-point underdogs, and a young, cocky Joe Namath guaranteed victory.
A few nights before the game, I was at the Miami Touchdown Club, and I had a chance to accept an award. And as I got to the podium, one of the guys in the back of the room yelled out, "Namath, we're going to kick your behind," you know. And I said, "Whoa, wait a minute. You know, you guys have been talking for 10 days now. That's all we've been here. And I'm going to tell you something. We're going to win the game, I guarantee you." It was just, we are.
And they did. In what is still the most stunning upset in pro football history, Jets 16, Colts 7. The NFL would never be the same.
As we're leaving the field, bunch of Jet fans right up over top of the tunnel that we're going out, you know, and I just saw them. It was sharing that, yes, we did it. It was, again, the goosebumps, you know. It was the only time I ever did that I could ever remember doing that. The people that I saw coming off the field caused that. You know, they brought that out.
Namath's legend was secured forever, but the Jets have seemingly been cursed ever since. Some have suggested it was more than just a curse.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste.
There was no deal with the devil. I did play Joe Hardy at one point in Damn Yankees. Now, that was the closest I ever came to making a deal with the devil. But, no, I really think that some bad vibes started when they changed those uniforms. Shouldn't have done that.
I'm gonna get creamed.
Namath did pay a heavy price for playing pro football. His savage knees kept him out of the record books, on the sidelines, and in pain for most of his career.
The knees. It's not my neck, it's not my back, it's not my heart or something that's going to put me 6 feet under. And I swear to you, that's a big difference.
4 years ago, he underwent his 9th major knee operation. This time, both knees were replaced.
Every now and then you look up here and see some of those pictures and get a little inspiration when you're getting tired, anytime or whatever. Even then, you try to please them. Even now, you know, you want to make sure you're working out right. There is our Super Bowl ring. And those words that Weed gave us, right down here, poise. They put on the ring. Execution. Winning that championship, man, was everything we were shooting for, and when we did it, it was every bit as good as what you might have thought it was going to be like ahead of time, if you dared to think about what it could be like.
I think I'll pull out that
The all-time All-Madden Super Bowl team has arrived. They'll be in our locker room next.
Fasten your Sunday. Also, the greatest NFL touchdown ever.
Broke out on the field, and they was full of things, you know, they had a stripe on the side. Whoa, where did we get those shoes? You didn't get them?
This is amazing. This is what an all-time, all-Madden Super Bowl team would look like. I'll tell you, it's pretty impressive. You know, you think of all the legends in here, and think of the Super Bowl and what it is. The Super Bowl is going to be played today, and 31st Super Bowl. There's guys that represent Super Bowls before they even called them Super Bowls. Green Bay Packers, Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl I, that was a championship game. Guys in here that played in those games. Super Bowl II, Super Bowl III. We all remember that. And the AFL, it just gives me chills thinking about Super Bowl III, Super Bowl IV, the Kansas City Chiefs. Roger Staubach. You know, all the great games, all the legends that you played for. And you look up there and there's Vince Lombardi. And there's guys in this room, Jerry Kramer played for Vince Lombardi. I think of pro football, I think of Vince Lombardi. There's guys here that played for George Halas. There's guys here that played for Don Shula, for Tom Landry, for Chuck Noll, for the legends, for the great coaches. Guys here that made the game, you guys that have made the game. And if it weren't for you guys in this room, where would the Super Bowl be? What would it be? You played in legendary stadiums, Lambeau Field, RFK, Three River. Guys in here that played on the only undefeated team in the history of the National Football League. Everyone in here played injured. Guys in here play with broken legs. Guys in here sacrificed, gave whatever they had to, and are the special people. Sometimes you wonder, you know, where would we be? Where would any of us be? Where would the game be if it weren't for what you guys did and the way you started it? Now, you know, and it's a thrill for me, again, to be in this room. And, you know, we're not going to play a game, but just think if we could play a game. I mean, if we could go out there, let me tell you, and we line up Willie Lanier, Mike Curtis in the middle, Ray Nick, where are they going to run? Where are they going to run? I mean, we have Randy White in there. Where are they going to, Jack Youngblood? How are they going to pass? How are they going to get anything off? Then if they do, I mean, we got, you know, Herb Adderley, we got Willie, what are they going to do? They'd be scared to death of us, huh? I mean, you know, Mike Haynes, who's going to beat them? They can't beat them. And then, you know, then when we got the ball, look, we'd have these guys blocking them. I mean, how would you like to come out there and have these guys, I mean, Jerry Kramer, Jackie Slater, Mike Webster, like Larry Little, you know, Munoz, Jacoby, I mean, the best. These guys are blocking out there. And you have Larry Zonka running in there behind them. Huh? Walter Payton in there. You know, what do they do? How do they do anything? And we want to throw it. I mean, Joe Namath. You kidding me? Roger Staubach throwing the ball. Otis Taylor, Paul Warfield, Gary Clark, John Spark. I mean, catching the ball? What, are you kidding me? We wouldn't even need any special team. We'd never punt. They'd say, how about kicking off? I don't care. Hell, just start it somehow. We'll play you. I mean, who would want to play? I mean, tight end. I mean, John Mackey. You know, Mark Bavaro. I mean, we could block him. We could run him. We could throw deep. We could throw short. Don Maynard. I mean, who's going to cover him today? Nothing. Nothing. They'd be out there shaking. The hell are you talking about they want to play? No one would want to play this group. No one would want to play this group. They wouldn't. But this is what it's all about. And again, weren't going to play. But I remember Ray Nitschke saying that, you know, you always have one hit left in you. And you always have one hit left in you. There's some, you know, everyone in here has one hit left in them. One throw, one catch, one run, you know what I mean? But I think we'll probably just keep it. No, just keep it and take it with us. You know, just stick it in the back pocket. But, you know, we could dream what it would be like. And I know my dream would be to be great. I mean, I would love to be a part of this group. And you can dream because you earn the right to dream. I mean, a lot of people dream, but they've never done it. And you guys have done it. And today, when they play the Super Bowl, I think to everyone that's watching, I think everyone that's coaching, I think everyone that's playing can say thank you. Because it was you guys that established the NFL. It was you guys that established the Super Bowl. And we can go back, like we said, when it wasn't even called a Super Bowl. Then it became a Super Bowl. And now it's a day. And it's gotten so big, it's now called Super Bowl Sunday. It's a day. It has its own day. And again, you guys were all part of it, part of the history of it. And you have the right to say you remember when you were there because you did it. The thing I remember Roger Staubach telling me after we won Super Bowl 11, saying the greatest thing about it is that they can never say that you can't win the big one. The greatest thing about it is they can never take it away from you. And that's something that you all have. And again, it's something that if we could just keep and say what a pleasure and honor it is to have this all-time Super Bowl team, and it's a team that I would take and take any place because you're the greatest. Thanks. I thought Mike Curtis was going to come.
Come in here, everybody. Come on down. Come on. Everybody get our hands in here. All right. All right? Hey, you guys are the best of the best. I'm proud to be part of this team. It's a good thing we're not playing today because it wouldn't be a contest. We'll be the victors. Let's go out there and just enjoy ourselves. Ready?
Don't go away. We'll have a final tribute right after this.
All-time All-Madden Super Bowl team is brought to you by Outback Steakhouse. For awesome food in an Aussie mood, Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right. By Canon Laser Color, its only competition is reality. By Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most. And by Goodyear, #1 in tires.
My teammates voted me the starting quarterback.
Question, without makeup.
I got mine.
Joe, if you happen to get in there, do you want me to call the plays for you, or do you want to call?
Oh, no, we'll stick to the book. We'll let the coaches call them for you, and I'll call my own.
May the good Lord be with you down every road you roll. Be courageous and be brave, and in my heart you'll always stay forever young.
You always have one hit left in you. But I think we'll probably just keep it.
Tonight, when the big game's over,
Garner, the single setback, takes the handoff off left tackle across the 25-20 and the 15-10, breaks the tackle, he's in the 5, he's in!
48. It was the 49ers' worst regular season defeat in 14 years. San Francisco's defense allowed a season-high 437 yards and surrendered the most points in a game since 1986. That's how bad it was. The first three 49er offensive series ended in an interception,
Young
punt,
into the end zone.
safety.
William Fuller has him for a safety.
Philadelphia led 23-0, and the 49ers offense had gained 1 net yard. On top of that, quarterback Steve Young was benched in the third quarter. Well, talk about turning points. From that, the lowest of the lows, 49ers went on to win their next 10 games in a row on their way to Miami in Super Bowl 29. The Niners averaged 37 points, and their average margin of victory was more than 20. It was a kind of domination the NFL hadn't seen since the 85 Bears. And after that benching, Steve Young went on to become the first quarterback in NFL history to win 4 consecutive passing titles. Still, he wasn't considered a great quarterback since he hadn't won a Super Bowl. That's something his predecessor, Joe Montana, had done 4 times. Well, Super Bowl 29 liberated Steve Young from the ghost of Joe Montana. The game wasn't much of a contest, not much for drama. But as an exhibition of the 49ers' excellence, it was a fitting conclusion to the 1994 season.
This is the future of workout.
AFC, baby! AFC right here! We're going to do it today! We're going to do it today!
Yes, Tiger! You can tell them they're going to kiss my boat!
Gonna shock the world today. Yes, sirree, Bob. Just like Namath in '69. Same thing, same story.
I can feel it in the air tonight, baby. Something strange gonna happen. Something strange gonna happen. We're the kings right here. At AFC, we're gonna be the kings after today.
Well, still number 55 can do today. Still 55 can do. 55 supposed to be the best in the business. If I'm gonna say I'm the best, I gotta play against the best. We'll see what happens.
We're witnessing record setters. Record setters right here, baby. First team to bring home 5.
While the underdog Chargers tried to pull off the greatest upset in NFL history, the 49ers were poised to make history of their own. An unprecedented 5th Super Bowl championship. The highest scoring team in the NFL was led by Steve Young, who stood 1 victory away from claiming his rightful place among the game's greatest quarterbacks.
Hey, I got kids to feed now. They're tired of eating them bland cereals. They want a brand name.
Ain't nothing different. Ain't nothing different. Ain't nothing different. Ain't nothing different. Ain't nothing different.
Fireworks that lit up the Miami sky would soon pale before those that exploded on the field.
If the 49ers get an early score on the board and San Diego falls behind early in this game, that'll really bode well for the 49ers.
Before anyone settled into their seats, the 49ers set the tone of Super Bowl 29.
Gonna play fake. Young goes deep middle. He's got Jerry Rice. Touchdown 49ers. First touchdown of the game. Comes after only a minute and 24 seconds. 44 yards. Touchdown pass to Rice. He sets another record. Unbelievably great throw by Steve Young and almost an unbelievable bad play by the San Diego safeties. Rice split them both. They're in a 2-deep zone, and he got behind both safeties.
Well, what a stunner for the Chargers to have to deal with. This is the one thing that they all talked about all week that they couldn't let happen, and it has. San Francisco scored.
The fastest touchdown in Super Bowl history was scored by the one player the Charger defensive game plan was designed to contain. Second possession proved just as devastating to the Chargers as the first, as Young defeated their defense with both his legs and his arms.
play fake, drops back to throw, deep middle, Waters a great, over the shoulder catch, bounces away again. Oh, what if it is a spectacular touchdown catch by Ricky Waters, beating Stanley Richard again, 51-yard touchdown play.
Sensational play-action fake, though, by William Floyd and Steve Young. The Chargers really bought that fake between Young and Floyd. And Waters wide open down the middle, was hit hard, kept his balance, and made a sensational run.
Boy, this crowd is buzzing.
Oh, man, what excitement, what drama.
Sensational play.
While the first score took 84 seconds and this one took just a minute 53, the Charger defense felt they had already spent a lifetime on a football field.
Just play it like you're on ice. Secondary, when you get the shot, you got to make the hit. You've got to wrap up. Nobody's supposed to fit on the coverage, okay? On that one, you ran by you. You got to see it. On the other one, you got to get to the middle. Don't be looked off. Let's go, man. Play that coverage, and we'll be all right.
And this is a very important series for the Chargers. They must do that. It is. They need some big points. They need a big number out there. They don't need a 3.
Finally, the Charger offense began to assert itself with a brutal 13-play, 7.5-minute drive that was planned to both keep the 49er offense off the field and to overpower and wear down their defense. 245-pound Natron Means battered the ramparts, then broke down the doors to the end zone.
The drive coming up. Jumbo backfield, double tight ends, H-back I formation. They're going to run it to Means. Touchdown, San Diego. He went up and over the top.
Great blocking up front by that offensive line led by Stan Brock. That time, there was no one.
When flight number 20 touched down, the dreams of the San Diego Chargers finally took wing.
It was